I'm
Hello?
hoping you're on. Gosh almighty, this is rough on me. It really is. Larry Riteman, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, gosh, I'm glad you're here. I did a half-hour show without, my intended first guest wasn't here. And then my producer, Nick, called me and said I'm not coming through his Skype, so I'm on the phone. People, Skype is really undependable. There, I said it. You can live with that, right? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right. I spent the afternoon reading you, so at least give me credit. I did my best on understanding you. First of all, what is Massad? M-A-S-S-A-D.
Massad was the name of the writer of that Al Jazeera piece.
Oh, gosh almighty. All right, add that, quote it. All right, I got you then. All right, Massad is the writer. Is he a Jew? No, he's an Arab.
No, I don't think so. He's obviously Western educated and, fairly skillful at sort of, I guess, tethering together his themes. And but he really, short circuits the historical facts. He omits facts that he doesn't like and focuses on other things and takes them out of context.
All right, now we're going to do you slowly. By the way, I apologized before. I've had this tongue problem for like 6 months where I actually bite my tongue and it's too expensive to repair. Anyways, let's just say I've got a big tongue, all right, earlier in the show than usual. Now, let's go backwards and get to you. I read you, and believe me, all I can say is I wrote a book called Bye Bye Gaza, which was the truth about why the Jews were removed from Gaza. In the first half hour, when neither guest was here, I plugged it, but I'll still plug it. It's at lulu.com, www.lulu.com. And I did write about the latest events. Oh, they're never ending. All right, let's do your historical stuff. First of all, let's start with Al Jazeera. You say it was founded in 1996 by El Qatar. Go into it.
Basically the sheik of Qatar, or whatever they call it.
Qatar.
Yeah, okay.
Qatar.
Well, he didn't like the way BBC was reporting the news, and he started hammering them with letters sometime in the end of the 1980s, during the first uprising, what they called the Intifada. And he was, it just became worse. The British tried to modify their language to somewhat, appease him. And then around 1995, 96, he decided that he had some loose cash, so create a 24-hour news channel for the Arabic world, which was intended to bite and hurt BBC.
And how's it doing?
Well, I don't follow it, so I've just this has just come across in some research, but they have I would say a significant audience, especially in the Muslim world. And some of the governments there have real problems with them. You're seeing it now in the courts in Egypt over this whole thing where they were literally working in back channels helping the Muslim Brotherhood seize control of the Egyptian government.
All right, now there's a claim, all right?
Yes.
That's not a minor claim.
No,
You're talking about an overthrow of a government.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean this is the Egyptians who are saying this. It's not me. I'm only giving you what they're saying. But I mean,
well, are they saying for a reason?
Yeah, I think they have a real reason for why they're saying what they're saying. And I mean, obviously, there must have been enough evidence that they got them into court. So right now, I understand the
court.
There is actually a court case going on right now in Cairo. There's a Canadian who's in the docket, although it looks like, and he, by the way, has turned entirely. He is a Muslim, Canadian Muslim faith and all the rest of it, but he has actually turned on Al Jazeera, saying they set him up. And there were things that they were doing. I mean, details are now coming out about they had these little drones.
Well, how did they set him up? How did they even find him? He's in Canada, I assume.
Well, he was working for a network, and I guess his personality caught their attention, and they offered him. You know what the game is. They put money in front of your face, and it looks good. It looks like you got into editorial independence, etc.
And he agreed to testify against Al Jazeera.
Well, he's actually trying to get himself off of the hook. So
okay.
Yeah, he's basically walking. He feels Al Jazeera hung him out on the line, and so I guess we'll see what comes out of it. It's been covered fairly well by the Globe and Mail.
You don't think this is necessarily an objective trial, do you? You don't think it's a balance of power?
Barry, trials are always about basically their intent is a forensic pursuit of the truth.
Okay.
Now, sometimes
do they have a forensic proof? Other than his testimony, do they have actual physical evidence? Well, Al Jazeera sent a postcard to rile up Egypt.
Well, Al Jazeera, who riled up Egypt, was none other than our most enlightened, esteemed emperor of the world, Mr. Barack Obama. If you know anything about the consequences of that University of Cairo speech,
that's also a major claim, by the way. You can slough it off. It's not a big deal. It's a very big deal. You're saying America stood up Egypt?
I think yes, and I'm not alone in saying this, Barry. This is not something that...
Well, then it doesn't matter if you're alone or not. It's a major claim.
Yeah, but the fact is he used the U.S. Embassy to basically circumvent the Egyptian authorities. He made sure the hall was packed with Muslim Brotherhood supporters. That was against Mubarak. Mubarak didn't want that, and he did it. And
if
so
he had waited 3 more years, would he have faced another legitimate election?
Who? Oh, Mubarak was never... Mubarak is... Look, there's no such thing as a legitimate election in the Middle East. All right?
Well, you want to believe Israel.
What?
Okay. You want to think Israel, but you're right about that.
No, even Israel has problems.
I know.
You know as well as I do. I do not want to join the chorus of those attacking Israel today, mainly because I see that the non-Jewish world is already warped, and they can't put things in context. So
we're trying to in our little way. Okay,
yeah.
We're doing our best. Look, the fact of the matter is, Israel was taken over. In fact, Israel was founded on things that are not so inherently election worthy. All right, leave it at that. It could be worse. It could be worse.
Yeah.
It's
Look,
not
I had
perfect.
to leave that country a long time ago. It hurt me, but I did it.
When?
Because in 1975, I had to get out of there. I had
That's when
no
I got
choice.
there.
What? I was there from March of 1973 until pretty well spring of 1975.
And I arrived in spring of 75. We just missed each other.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And I saw the writing on the wall there, and I knew if I stayed there, I would either be in jail or in a mental institution or dead. That was
Why?
I am not, Barry, I don't really want to go into it. It's a long time ago. I'm glad I did what I did, and that's all I can say. So...
All right, fair enough, I guess. Not exactly all the way fair, but fair enough.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Come on, why were you in danger of your life? Just go all the way. Don't be shy.
What do you? Well, number one,
yes.
Everybody seems to have been shocked that Sadat arrived in Jerusalem in 1977.
That was 77.
I was not shocked. I had seen it in 1970, really at the end of 74.
Did you see his tie with a swastika all over?
No. The way I saw it was I had been in the Sinai. I had been. You may not even know of this place. It was called Riteman. What?
Oh, you were in the north. All right, gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, I walked out of that, which I still don't know how that happened. But anyway, that's
it was abandoned fast, and within a decade it was gone.
Yeah. Anyway, the point being is at that time, at the time. I don't know how, and I don't know why, but I was a bit of a star, I guess you'd call it. But the thing was that I started getting information from some of my achim that they were the Egyptians were rebuilding El Bira. And when I heard that they were building civilian,
you mean
what?
Right.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Okay. So what happened is when I saw that, my family were very well connected. Very well connected. I used to see Golda. I used to see Diane.
Really?
All the time. They were. My family were among the founders of Ramat HaKofish. So
Right. Now, where was Ramat HaKofish? I would assume Golan?
What?
Where was Ramat HaKofish?
Ramat HaKofish is just near Kfar Saba.
I'm sorry.
Near Kfar Saba. Yeah.
All right, I've got you. So you were amongst the Zionist founding family?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was the Chalutzim. Yeah, right. Except I never quite fit in. I was a Newfoundlander. I was crazy, and I made Attila the Hun look like a bleeding-hearted lefty. So,
actually, you're saying that you were viewed as a vast right-wing conspirator.
I didn't need any conspirators. I was a right-wing conspiracy.
But all right, I caught it. Day one kibbutzim, having all the European women they wanted in the summer, and that was the difference between you and them.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Why not? Something I know.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, how can I say? The whole period I look back at, and I really sort of, how can you say? It's like when you look back on your life, you have this sense that you suddenly see that God was in the footprints everywhere. Because I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the Almighty. I have to say it straight out. I can't
I want
pretend
to
otherwise.
say one thing.
Yeah.
I had friends die, and they were no
So
less
did I.
blessed than me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
Yeah,
think
I had brothers die in my arms, and I do not like that.
No.
Yeah.
No. It was awful. My friend Joel Bainman wrote a book on Paris's tie with Iran-Contra. He didn't last long. No, sorry, he didn't. I'm sorry, I'm drifting.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to Ramata Kofish and why you had to leave, even though that you were friends with Golda Meir.
No, I wasn't friends with any of them. I mean, I used to see them all the time because they came out there because they were, some of them were actually friends of my granduncle, who was one of the original shaliachs into Europe after World War II.
Really? You know? From Canada?
No, he was he was originally, the family and everything were originally from what's called the Bialystok region of Eastern
I know it. That's where, you know,
Begin was a landsman, believe it or not. You know, so
he was someone I related. Pardon my tongue, by the way.
Yeah,
I can't do anything about it. I've got a thing where I bite it and it really hurts to talk. Look, Begin I'm related to. I liked him. But he sold out the land. And then I found out how. It was through Diane and Weissman.
Yes, I know. I know how they worked. Yeah.
You do?
Oh, I'm afraid I got an insight of them that I understand you meant Ron Pundak.
Oh, no, Ron Pundak was Oslo.
Yeah. No, I know. But I'm saying you met him.
Oh, of course I met him. I sat down with him.
So believe me.
He blabbed to me and Joel. He told the whole story.
I know.
And he was proud of it.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, enough of
Fair enough.
Yeah, but one thing I have to say is at the time, I wouldn't say I was the only one. There were some others who also kind of understood what this meant, that the Egyptians were rebuilding civilian infrastructure in a war zone. And at that point, I just understood instinctively that these guys were going to turn up at the door and, ask for their pie back.
They didn't actually instill civilians in the
No. They were, my friend, they were. But
really?
it was very low-key, but it was happening. And we knew that it was happening. So I asked for a meeting with Moshe Dayan, who I sat down and talked to. And I said to him, straight out, I said, they're going to be coming. It's only a matter of time now, but they're going to come to the door. What is the plan for peace? And then I reminded him.
Answered?
He said to me, they're not coming. If they were coming, the Americans would tell us. That was how he answered me. He says, you don't, you're such a...
What year? Hold on. This is important stuff. What year did you meet Moshe Dayan?
That was in I think it was March 1974.
All right, it was after the Yom Kippur
Yes, it was
War.
after. Yes, no, I had been on the guard detail to protect Henry Kissinger.
For Sadat and Bacon, by the way. I was at the airport at a press conference. The works.
Yeah. I know.
I watched it,
but nobody was prepared. You notice that? Nobody was prepared.
Everyone thought this would be peace.
Yeah, it was like all of a sudden, the Messiah is here. Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
And so, like, I went to them and I said to them, I said, look, I said, you know, the minute you mention Karl von Clausewitz, the minute you start they immediately counterfact with Sun Tzu. You know, oh, Clausewitz is nothing. You know, read Sun Tzu. In actual fact, Sun Tzu never encountered an enemy like the Arabs.
Hold on, who's Sun Tzu?
Sun Tzu was
listeners.
He was a famous general who wrote a book on the art of war.
All right.
Okay.
You have to do that, by the way, every time.
Okay.
Believe me, you are the only one who knew Sun Tzu. All right. Okay. So he wrote the book. What's the connection?
Well, no, the more important book to read, and I would say even today, it is the book to read. And I really mean read it very carefully. It's Karl von Clausewitz's On War. That's the book to read.
Why?
Because von Clausewitz is, well, number one, everybody thinks it's, I don't know what they think, but von Clausewitz is a very, very trained Kantian logician. His words and his thinking is very precise. He does not leave you any wriggle room. And
what does he conclude?
Well, he concludes. He basically says that the world is made up of two states of life, okay? One is war. War, in essence, is a duel between two groups that are basically, one is seeking to impose its will on the other.
All right. And the other is the opposite.
No, what he actually says is there's two states to reality. He says that there's a state of war, and then he says there is a state. Now, he never uses the P word. He doesn't use peace. He calls it dictations of law, both with coercion and without coercion.
And what does that mean exactly?
It means exactly that even peace, there is a state of law.
That's what it means?
That's what it means. It means that even that somebody is imposing a social caste, an order, a way to do business, a way to do this, or whatever. But in essence, there are types of law that have to be done by coercion, in other words, the threat of punishment. And then there are other types of law that don't require coercion. They're custom, they're family tradition, or something like that.
All right, what are we dealing with in Israel?
So with Israel, we are... I'm sorry?
No, I'm fine. I'm doing my best. Honest, I'm trying to follow everything. I'm doing fine.
Okay. All right. So, in essence, what von Clausewitz has said is that war is about, at the end of the day, it's about dictations of law. Whose law will prevail? Properties and territory or other things are secondary. Not that they don't cause wars, but the fact is that in the end, whoever gets to set the dictations of law gets the prizes. Gets to keep the,
these are very minor rules.
Yeah.
You're saying they're the only ones?
Just excuse me. I'm on the phone. I'll get to you later.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Anyway.
So you just politely tell her to go away for an hour.
Yeah, no, she's got the message. Anyway,
right.
So in essence, the Arab-Israeli dispute is about this. The Arabs believe that the world is either between Dar al-Islam or Dar al-Harb. In other words, the world that is outside of the world of Islam and the world that is under the control of Islam. That's the Arab view of the world. Now, with Israel, Israel happens to be a Jewish population that have gotten self-determination on a piece of land that at one time Arabs conquered.
All right, but at one time Jews
well, I know. You can go back and back, but the bottom line is, for today, that to the Arabs, the issue is Israel's sovereignty. As long as Jews have self-determination, they cannot accept that world because it undermines and it weakens the divine status of Islam. That's it.
And where is that wrong?
It's not wrong. That's their way. That's it. I'm not defending it. I'm not condemning it. I'm just giving you the truth. Now with Israel, Israel is basically a Western domain in the sense that it shares a common factor that all Western societies have, which I would call common weal or public service or public places. The notion that we're part and parcel of a bigger human community. There are processes, there are ways of, living in life and all the rest of it.
Where is this wrong?
What?
Where is this wrong?
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that this is the reality.
Okay,
that's the reality.
In other words, you're saying Al Jazeera is basically and fundamentally wrong.
Well, for us they are, for sure.
Well,
for them they're not. But for us, listen, let me tell you something. There's no such thing as objective truth outside of culture. That's it. It doesn't exist.
Well,
so if you think somehow you're going to get to some objective reality, truth is you're already tainted by your culture.
Again, there is scientific proof. In other words, yes.
Yes, that is what I actually do for a living. Is
that's
scientific
a belief.
Yeah. No, it's not a question of beliefs. It's a question of what can be verifiable. Can you identify the parameters? Can you make projections as to what would be the changes if you added X to Y or something like that? And then you can measure it off by the laws. That's the essence of science.
Now again, look, again, you're a scientist.
Correct, yeah.
All right, so you follow scientific rules. Where have you got a problem with the Arab point of view? For that matter, from the Israeli point of view. For that matter, from the Western point of view. Where's the differentiation?
Well, the differentiation lies in the cultural.
All right. Okay.
So, in actual fact, what the Arab-Israeli dispute really is a clash, it's a chasm between cultures. And this is why there's never going to be any peace. I mean, the people that think this are I don't know. I wish I could afford whatever they're smoking, but anyway, whatever. But
actually, that's not something I would disagree with it. Well, leave that be for now.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is the war in the Middle East is cultural. I think it's not. I think it's being stirred up.
There's always been outside parties involved. There's never been a period when there hasn't been some great powers rivaling for something. I mean, there's the fact of the physical geography. The physical geography makes Israel, as what's his name said so well. He was a British historian, but he basically called it the cockpit of the Mediterranean. Which is
whoever he was, it's not a great quote.
Well, but it very much is a point of great importance, both physically.
Oh, I know who he is.
Yeah.
Joseph Goel. He wrote for the Post about 30 years ago.
Who?
Joseph Goel.
No, it wasn't that. The name is escaping me right now.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I know who a relative is. All right,
Yeah.
so in short, Israel is the cockpit of the Middle East. Look,
No,
you're forgetting something.
Well, it's the cockpit of the Mediterranean.
Ah, okay.
Okay? And what that means is that the physical geography, it's an isthmus. It's basically a land bridge between three great continents.
All right.
Okay? And that
and from
determines...
that you drive what conclusion?
Not only that, but that is a piece of land that gives you access to two different oceans. It gives you access to both the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean, and it gives you access to the Mediterranean and the Atlantic. So,
I suppose so.
That's what makes any country there almost a miracle. It should, no country ever could stabilize there. The Israelis, the Jewish people. Well, the Jewish people managed...
You're wrong.
What?
The Ottomans were there for almost 1,000 years.
The Ottomans were not centered on Israel. It was just a small piece of their territory.
All right, I get you then. From that point of view.
Yeah.
But again, it's not really good. It's not a thesis.
No, it's a reality. It's just the way it really is.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not. How can I say? This is not something I'm telling you that you cannot confirm by going and looking. You can actually go there and see that, or get a satellite image of the place, and you understand immediately that this is a pretty strategic piece of territory, and every major power in world history has required it. That's it.
I'd have to think about that, but I really don't think the Chinese and the Mongols...
they're coming. They're on their way.
Yeah,
you will see them here.
All right. We're running into problems. Really, there are arguments.
Barry, I'm not building a railway across the Himalayas. Okay? They are. They're building a railway today across the Himalayas. They're actually doing it every single day, day in and day out.
All right.
They're already past Lhasa. They're now past even Pakistan. I think they're not far from Uzbekistan right now. And it's only a matter of time before they're at the Iranian border. Probably by next year. What I'm saying is that this is another variable that's the real 300,000-pound gorilla in the room that nobody wants to talk about in the Middle East. Is what's coming? Yeah, China. The dragon has awoken, and it's coming. And it's doing it a smart way. It's building a railroad.
Again, this is a little bit more in the future.
The future is coming up on us pretty fast, actually. When I first heard this, back in 1994, I was here in Canada, and they actually had a program. It was called As It Happens. Lady Barbara Frum was interviewing some historian that had gone to Russia, and he was part of University of Toronto, and he was with a bunch of German historians, and they were looking for whatever remained of the German records and stuff like that had been left in Russia. And it happened that he came across, during the period of glasnost and openness, he came across, if you found the door, you could go in and look at anything. So he said, we found the door of the foreign ministry one day, an archive. And, we just walked in, and all of a sudden...
Larry, we have to take 7 minutes off. And by the way, I apologize, folks. I was on the line, but, well, I wasn't. Something was wrong with my Skype or Nick's Skype or somebody's Skype, but we lost half an hour. But we'll carry on with it. This is pretty interesting, but... Larry, get ready. I'm starting to disagree with a point or two, okay?
Yeah, okay, I'm here. So,
all right, 7 minutes. Make it 6.5.
Okay, I'll go and take care of what I got to take care of, and I'll get back. Okay.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit DiscountGoldandSilverTrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188.
Hey, I've got Larry Riteman on, and I'm going to apologize for two things. One, my Skype, or Nick's Skype, somebody's Skype wasn't on for the first half hour. So we've got Larry on for the whole show, and he's been very interesting. But I got to tell you, I'm not entirely in agreement with everything. All right.
Okay.
And by the way, Larry, forgive me for my tongue. One of these days, I'm going to have the money to fix it. It's thousands of bucks.
Well,
all right. Yeah, I know. It's
Barry, you and I cannot get away from this. We got tongues longer than a nylon stocking, and that's the way it is.
Well, we got sucked into Israel after the Yom Kippur War, because we were going to hold our own against the world. Yeah, we got sucked in, all right. Look, you are explaining a lot, but I don't know who Raab is. Is it Scott Raab?
I'm sorry? What was?
R-A-A-B.
Oh, he was a sociologist at University of California.
What's his name?
Earl Raab.
Earl Raab, all right.
Yeah.
Let's go on with this. Now, we switched topics a bit. You go all the way to the Middle East where you decide that the Middle East, well, Exxon essentially funded worldwide anti-Semitism. That's what you decided. Let's go into that.
No, I wouldn't say that. I personally think that the main fermenter of anti-Semitism has not really been the Jews, but has been the Christian churches.
Well,
they're the
Exxon
ones
is not
who really sit with the, how can I say, they're the ones holding the smoking gun.
All right, first of all, Exxon is not the Jews. All right, and you say they funded and inculcated Western anti-Semitism from 74 to 83. Let's dive into. Start with that. My goodness.
Okay. Wait a sec. That comes along after. All right. After the 1973 war, Arab rulers tried to use oil boycott. Right? They tried to cut off oil to force the West to change its policies to Israel. That did not work. I mean, it had some effect, but it didn't have the effect they wanted.
What effect did it have?
Well, I will go off onto a tangent, Barry, and I'd rather get to the point about what MEOC
get to the point. I'm sorry for going off.
All right. No, it's all right. You have to. You're the interviewer. You have to ask the questions.
Well, I'm asking what my listeners would be asking.
I understand. Okay, MEOC.
Right. Away you go. All right, you don't want the BBC calling suicide bombers holy martyr bombers.
Yeah.
And all right, away you go. I'm sorry.
Okay. So one of the things that comes. I mean, by the way, Al Jazeera is a result of MEOC not succeeding in its aims. But in actual fact, in the early 70s, or mid 70s, the Arab governments turned to ExxonMobil, who is really their major customer. They got them, by the short and curlies.
All right.
So what happens is ExxonMobil basically assigns a faculty at, I think it's a university in Arizona. Yeah, I think it was Arizona. And they begin to come up with a program, an academic program, that will go into universities in the West.
And did it?
What? Sorry?
I'm sorry, I've got buzzing. The show is very disturbed technologically today.
Yeah.
Well, did the program work?
Well, it does to a certain extent. It does. And actually today, what we're seeing on campuses is a result of that program operating for dozens of years without any Jewish countermeasures. And what we're actually seeing is entire commerce departments, entire social studies departments now. Already, many of these Arab governments gained influence by funding what they called Middle Eastern Studies departments.
Right.
That was one of the recommendations of MEOC. MEOC is this ExxonMobil think tank that operates from the University of Arizona. It eventually sets up a curriculum. It brings it into campuses, and it's been growing steadily ever since. As Arab money has been pouring in because of the Western desire for purchasing oil, that oil money is being used to subvert and destroy our academic structures.
All right.
It's actually very, very clever work. I came across this stuff in '93, and I actually brought it to the attention of both the Israelis and their Canadian Jewish Congress at the time.
Yeah.
But that was in August 1993, and all of a sudden we got everyone telling us that peace is around the corner. And so my papers got, my memos just got, they're probably somewhere stored away somewhere, but, nobody did anything to recognize what was happening and how it was happening. And so now we have...
This is getting... All right. This is getting much clearer that you might have intentionally... I'm sorry, my tongue again. Intentionally intended. You're saying that Sadat came ultimately because of Exxon?
I'm sorry?
Sadat came, all right, because Exxon funded the University of Arizona Middle East Department.
No. Sadat came because he knew that, number one, the Americans were going to muck it up if they kept on going with what they wanted to do with their Rogers plan.
Okay, hold on. What's the Rogers plan?
Oh, boy. Listen, all of these things, you want to get an idea of what the original plan was and everything else, go to look at the what was known as the Vienna Accords. Venice Accords, I'm sorry. And it was 1983 or something like that, and at that time there was a policy that was crafted and basically adopted by all Western governments, and the long-term aim of it is basically to remove Israel to solely the coastal part. Israel basically sits as a small little enclave along the shore of the Mediterranean.
When was Roger?
What?
Yes.
No, Roger comes out after with a suggestion on how to go after this objective. But the objective is originally outlined in a British foreign policy paper known as the Venice Accord. So,
all right, I'm following.
Well, basically, what they think they're going to do, and I mean, this is what Western governments are really trying to think through. They're trying to find a way to take away from the Arabs the animus that moves them today. And they somehow think that putting Israel into Tel Aviv is going to give the Arabs everything they want. And,
all right. And
the truth is it won't. You and I know it won't, because we know that there's a cultural difference, that the Western government, it's an old Russian proverb, to a master carpenter with a hammer, everything is a nail.
Meaning
that their mentality is such that they have an outlook that right away freezes out any other options to look at it.
How does that connect with holy martyr bombings?
Well, no, that was what this emir of Qatar.
The BBC.
Yeah, he wanted the BBC to only refer to these people that were blowing up buses. The BBC called them suicide bombers, as if that was their motive. But as well as I do, they were homicidal blasters. That's really the truth. But we won't call them that. But nevertheless, that was, and this character from Qatar thought that they should not be referred to in such a
negative way.
A negative, yeah, and more or less the negativity, which really, Westerners tend to think that, oh gosh, his hope is gone and everything like that, and therefore he lashes out. You and I know that this is not the truth. This is actually part and parcel of something that's been far more cleverly crafted.
A lot of people are catching on that.
Well, now they're getting burned themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why.
Yes.
But a lot of people can have a great, how can I say, every single one of us is a legend in our own mind. Okay? That's the way we are.
What do you mean?
Well, we all think that somehow, we're we're right, we're nice, we're this, we're that, we're and the world is simple, and we give people basically the presumptions of face value and all the rest of it, and then we project on them what we think they're thinking. And,
all right. Now, what do we think Arab suicide bombers are really thinking?
Well, they're not. The real story behind them actually is in a medical journal. And
oh gosh, I know what you're saying.
Yes.
a few different books here, and by the way, I didn't agree with even 50% of them. All right.
Right. Well, no, I don't agree with everything they say either, but I at least report to you what was their conclusion.
Well, they were confused by anti-Semitism, and they blamed it on all kinds of perspectives that really didn't lead to the truth.
Well, I mean, how can I say? Some of the things may be useful because they give you, I guess, a way in which you can make the information useful to you. So that's why I tended to report Theodore Rubin.
You reported it at length. I want you to know that, and I read it at length. But it's not a straightforward. They are not straightforward conclusions here. Situational and innate.
I'm on the phone. Sorry.
Oh gosh. Oh no! Tell her to stay away from the phone. Look, I read you very seriously, and it's really, really full of problems.
Yeah.
It's partly true, without a doubt, partly true, all three of them. But
I think they actually all bring out different aspects to it.
All right.
That's why I included them all. And I think the most interesting one was Goodman's paper.
All right, start again.
Well, you remember I mentioned Goodman found that there was a relationship between extreme anti-Semites and the olfactory region of the brain.
I know. I wrote this down. Now look, David Goodman, who was he before you go on?
Oh,
who was David Goodman?
Yeah, well, he was an American psychiatrist who had worked in the Far East, and sometime in the 1980s or 90s, he started writing a book about, it was actually titled The Jewish Nose. And if you can find it, it's worth reading. I don't agree with everything he says.
Jewish nose. Where's the part that should relate to me?
Well, look, the nose. It's emblematic, in a way, because how can I say, some of the deepest memories that the human brain retains do come from olfactory stimulation.
Right. It's tied to deeper memories. What's that got to do with anti-Semitism?
Well, again, we come back to what Theodore Rubin and Gilbert said.
We'll get to them.
Well, Gilbert, Captain Gilbert, was the guy who wrote a United States FM manual on anti-Semitism. And he was the guy who was responsible for basically the psychological care of the people that were on trial at Nuremberg. So he interviewed all these people, and he wrote a book about it afterwards, which became a United States military manual. And
it was called what?
Well, it's FM. I think it's 8. I'm not sure. There's a lettering.
All right, David Goodman, folks, look it up on Google.
Alexander Gilbert was the
Alexander Gilbert. I'm sorry, David Goodman. Alexander
is the American psychiatrist. Yeah.
All right. This, by the way, if you're not really familiar with it, these are unknown names. Now, just bear with me, okay? Now, who are you talking about now, Gilbert or Goodman?
Well, I'm talking about Gilbert right now.
Okay.
And the reason why I tell you about Gilbert is Gilbert says that it's family structure and the father. And the father, apparently distant and harsh fathers, tend to how can I say,
Great Nazis.
produce anti-Semites, yeah.
Gosh almighty. You know what? All right, it maybe there's some truth, but
well,
okay.
Gilbert also didn't just speak about that. He also spoke about the fact that European tribal structures were different, and like, for example, to be a stranger in Europe was a whole kettle of fish different than being a stranger in America. Because even your founding, daughters of the American Revolution came somewhere.
Look, Russia was not the same place as Britain.
Yeah, and Gilbert points out that one of the things that Stalin used was he immediately associated Jews as cosmopolitans. Again,
is that bad?
Exploiting the stranger. Exploiting, because...
All right.
So, but in essence, I mean, to be honest, I can't do...
what people...
Yeah, I can't do justice to them. I really recommend you get their books and have a look at them.
You'll explain who Captain Alexander Gilbert and David Goodman were, but let's go on here.
Yeah.
They wrote a manual for anti-Semitism, which you claim is being used. Well,
I don't know if it's being used anymore, but it was in their repertoire in the 1950s.
Oh, you claim that Exxon set up a committee at Arizona State that took advantage of it. Don't be shy. Go.
Yeah. Well, but don't misconstrue me here.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
If we're going to talk about anti-Semitism, that is really a very, very direct sociological phenomena. Okay. When we're talking about MEOC and ExxonMobil, you're not really talking about anti-Semitism. You're really talking about educational structures.
Oh gosh! All right. Look, Exxon funded educational structures.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I would say that they probably hired some of the best out there. Yeah.
Let's go a little broader.
Money was no object.
You're saying anti-Israel sentiment was spread by Exxon beginning in 74-5 to the University of Arizona and spread throughout American liberal thinking. Do I have it right?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it sort of gets its own legs really by about 1980. And that's when it's already sort of gone from the, I guess you'd call it, developmental stage where they're sort of working out little things to finally having a whole package. And roughly in 1980, MEOC then starts putting out basically an entire curriculum for a university. And once they get the Ivy Leagues on board, then needless to say, it infiltrates even down into American secondary schools. So, yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty serious
it is.
claim
and what's worse, it was not a secret.
Really?
And what annoyed me to know, I felt it was entirely counterable. It could have been counter-effected. Really, if we would have gotten to it early. And when I came to them in 93 with my memos, showing this connection and links and everything, like I say, peace was in the air. Jim and Tara said to me, no, don't go there. We're not going there. We're on their way to the great future. We're going to have a Hong Kong of the Middle East.
93 peace was not in the air.
That's what you forget, my friend. It was. I'm talking about August, September 1993. That's what I'm saying. That's when that was when the Oslo thing got signed. All the rest.
Oh, okay.
That's when. And my timing was, well, unfortunately, I didn't even know about this thing until '92. And
I want to tell you something. I just want to repeat because for some reason my Skype wasn't on or Nick's wasn't on, and the first half hour wasn't on. I want you to know that me and my friend Joel Bainman met Joel Pundak. We published our interview all over the place, and Joel is no longer with us. I just want you to know the next stage he took was Shimon Peres and Iran-Contra, and he didn't last much longer after that.
Yeah.
That was the 80s.
Yeah.
I think that's what killed him and not Iran-Contra, but both. He died at 53. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
People don't die at 53 naturally.
Yeah. You know, I keep on...
And I should have been dead, too, by the way.
You had a guest on earlier that said...
Oh, hold on, Larry.
Yeah.
We'll be back in 3 minutes. You plug yourself. I hope my line stays on the air. I'll do my best. I had Skype problems today, but I think we'll finish the show. We'll do our best. All ready?
Okay. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Okay.
Make it 2.5. Don't be late.
All right.
Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Hey, Larry, it's Barry.
Yes.
I'm hoping that... Oh, good gosh. I've had a rough night, let me tell you. First of all, you get my books at lulu.com, www.lulu.com. Write in my last name, Chamish, Chamish. Thanks to... Oh, David, thank you for keeping up my website. And... David Savitsky, and there is www.barrychamish.com. David Safarin, I'm sorry. And your plug?
You can get a hold of me at a website, www.truemetallic, all one word, TRUEMETALLIC.ca.
One more time.
One more time?
Well, look, folks, we are archived at libertyarchives.com, but I have no idea what's coming through. It's so scary. But we are at libertyarchives.com. One more time, your address.
All right. http://www.truemetallic, one word, .ca.
All right, now let's go back to this. I read you pretty thoroughly. I got to tell you, I really did. Now, what I'm going to do, original Zionism, labor Zionism in 1 second. It's your interpretation misses so many points, but I will go through it with you in 1 second. But let's just go that the Arabs managed to get liberals in university campuses anti-Israel, beginning with Exxon, right?
With this Middle Eastern educational outreach program, MEOC.
All right, so it began in 74, and Qatar took it over with Al Jazeera.
No, Qatar has nothing to do with it.
Well, what has something to do with Al Jazeera?
Qatar enters the journalism game in 96 because they don't like the way BBC is portraying the Middle East. They want Israel to be more vilified.
I think that's what I said.
Yeah. All right.
I didn't get that wrong. From Exxon to Qatar, I got it wrong. We're okay.
Well, because both are not related directly. In theme-wise, but
they're part of the same trend.
Yeah, a trend. Agreed. Okay. Yeah.
All right. And it's worked on making liberals and leftists really anti-Israel.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Now we go back to the original. Now, you gave me a history of the original labor Zionism, which you read. Boy, did you leave out right-wing and religious Zionism from this equation. But you said that Chaim Weizmann invented acetone, and that made him, to His Majesty's government, king of the Jews, and looked
No.
All right, go to it.
Whoa, just remember, acetone is only a byproduct of the method of this biochemical bacteria production of compounds. The other compounds were more important, really, in the long term. Acetone was vital.
They looked upon Palestine as a product for the Jews, or they would look favorably upon it as a product of the Jews.
I know. That's the usual story. Yeah,
yes, it is. Where's that wrong?
But it's wrong because, number one, the British didn't have any rights in Palestine. The French did.
All right.
The French had all the legal rights. They had a treaty with Suleiman the Magnificent in 1535 that made them gave them special prerogatives and capitulations. That's what the Ottomans called it. And,
all right.
And so the British needed the Jews to be able to at least get onto a level playing field legally with the French.
And the French agreed to let them attack Palestine.
And there was another thing that was behind it all, was that in 1913, France and the United States signed a treaty called the Treaty of Arbitrations and Extensions that actually validated that 1535 treaty and made basically the American government look to the French whenever, like for example, at the time when the Damascus libel trials were on, they didn't go to the British, they went to the French to appeal for the safety of the Jews in the land at that time. So the Americans had a history of knowing... No, they actually went to the French because they knew the French had great influence with the Ottomans, especially in La Terra Santa.
Listeners, do your best. I'm following. You can do it too. All right, away we go.
Okay, so that is actually the background. Now, when World War I comes along, the right away, even before Weizmann even turned up at all, the Home Secretary, Sir Herbert Samuels, puts the idea of taking Palestine to secure the Suez Canal on the agenda. Kitchener, who is the Minister of War, likes the idea because Kitchener actually went all around the land. He mapped it in the 1870s for the
and for that,
Cogner.
They named a town in Ontario after him.
Yeah, there is a city that used to be known as Berlin, Ontario. It's now Kitchener. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but he liked the idea and he kept it on the agenda. And it's him that sets Mark Sykes to meet with Pico to try to work out a trade, a deal. Because the French are not going to give up their...
The deal was between who?
What? Between the French and British Empire.
Between?
What?
And the French? What about the Ottomans? They were thrown out, right?
No, the Ottomans were in the enemy camp at that point.
Well,
there was no discussions with the Ottomans.
Okay, I got you.
The Ottomans were German allies.
And what did the French get back for giving up Palestine?
Well, the French got two things. One, they got a commitment from the British to give them no difficulties, but it would be handed over to them, Lebanon and Syria. The other thing that they also got from was a promise from Zionist leaders that they would use their influence
from the labor Zionist leaders.
Whatever you want to call them. Yes, yeah. No, it really was
Begin and his gang there.
No, it wasn't Begin and them. Jabotinsky was in the army at that point.
Thank you, listeners. Okay, so we've got an agreement. One section of Zionism, and I'm going to add, even at the time, not the majority, were given control of Palestine. And they fought the British. They fought the Irgun for the British. And they threw the Jews from their homes. Good. Let's put it into perspective now.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, basically what you have today, and I think I heard it earlier, and it was well put by one of your guests, and that is really today, Israel is basically run by a Bolshevik cadre. Now, I personally
wouldn't deny that.
Yeah,
but nonetheless, the people are not.
Listen, I sat on the inside of that, so I actually know what I'm talking about. All right.
No, I'm saying the people don't.
Yeah. But
that's the difference. They don't know they're being twisted left and.
No, I know that.
Okay, there we go.
No, they're righteous and clean-hearted, good people.
There we go.
They're so, and their liberal credentials are second to nobody. Don't worry.
Well, I do have, a son, daughter, niece, nephew, sister. Yeah. There are people who might be ruled in that camp. I don't want them getting ruled in the same way.
No, and I don't think it's ever so simple. I think there's always been, let's say, a group of people, even in that camp, that how can I say they just know that they got to be a mensch. They got to do the right thing.
It comes second nature to them.
That's right. It comes second nature to them. So
You're talking about Kreisky and Eichmann going to Germany and sorting out Jews to be executed.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, there's always been the low lives. There has always been the low lives that will utilize anything to a political advantage.
Oh, gee whiz, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's always been that way. Look, I'll tell you something. How can I say? One of the most peculiar things about anti-Semitism is that it has always included Yidden. We've always had our Dathan and Abirams. That's it. And what
again, Larry, when you say Yidden, my guest may not know what you mean, but
it means
you
the Jewish people as a collective.
There we go.
All right.
All right.
Okay. So we've always had, because there's never been any unity. I always get the biggest laugh when anybody gives me this thing, how we're so clanny and all the rest of it. It's rubbish. But that's here nor there. That's the myth. But I point out to you this. Even with all of these forces that are trying to secularize and destroy the religious core of the Jewish people, it doesn't seem to be doing very well. Because if you actually look at the polls right now, the majority of Israelis, even the secular ones, do not want Grandpa's heritage denigrated. They just don't like it. So even your hardcore...
they almost got elected.
I know.
All right. I wouldn't think you're away from that entirely, all right? It's still a risk.
Yeah, no, I listen, time will tell. You know, that's
well, not much time.
Well, it's true. We seem to be coming to a crescendo.
Oslo went through. My goodness.
Well, Oslo.
This after I found out how it went through, and I told people it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, no,
you can't make.
No, again, you know what you're up against, Barry, and what I find I'm up against all the time is I cannot overcome somebody's hope.
All right, I guess
hope is one of the most dangerous emotions that moves in the human heart and mind. It can be positive.
It sent the Jews to the death camps.
I know.
Thinking they were separated from their children, and they'd be...
You're talking to someone whose own grandparents disappeared that way. And,
gosh, I could do that as well.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing that the Jews are walking into Gaza, into the boxcars again.
Yeah.
And they walked out.
Yes, I know.
They walked out.
I know. And, again, it comes back to this thing. One of the things that is the most dangerous things that works in this world, and unfortunately, when you're talking about socialists and progressives, they're willing to play fancy with the truth, mainly because they have great ambitions for tomorrow. So they can throw the truth down the tube. But one thing that they know how to exploit is hope. And hope is an emotion that is not a bad thing, but if it is unchecked and out of the context of reality...
You send the Jews to African concentration camps. Look, you're talking about it. Okay.
I know. Barry, I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm trying to tell you...
I know you're agreeing with me, but you have to kind of explain it.
Yeah.
That hope sent Begin in a mask around Tel Aviv, and his fellow Irgunis to camps in Africa.
Yeah,
That was the labor Zionists.
I know. Absolutely. Listen, you and I know that there's two faces in all of this.
No, there's one.
There's two. There is two.
What's the second one? The thing was something good about the labor Zionists?
No. What I'm saying to you is that there are two competing worldviews that are at work all the time, and Israel happens to be the crucible where it is, let's say, all on steroids. It's all hypered to an nth degree. And basically what you have is people that are materialists, people that believe that the world is the world and that there is, and you can...
Well, not everyone.
Well, but the truth is that
society is
even communists and socialists are materialists. That's it. They believe
well,
in
the capitalists of Israel.
Capitalists are also materialists.
Well, of course they are.
And then there is another group, another community, and I would call them the ones that verge at the metaphysical.
Okay.
So
that is.
Yeah, the ones that are, basically it can either be the ultra-Orthodox Hardim who are thinking that they're doing it the way Joshua did it,
are they good guys or bad guys?
What?
Are they the good or the bad? What are they?
I think there's a mix.
I
think there's a mix in all communities. And I think it's all part of the human condition. But basically, what has happened in the past...
Do I disagree with you? There is not a mix. The labor Zionists founded a form of, let's say, okay, there's a mix. You're right. You know what? I'm veering towards you.
Yeah.
All right,
well,
there was a...
listen, if it was also straight black and white, then there would be no problems about sorting all of this out, right? But it isn't. It's a strange world that we live in, and the human heart is unfathomable, and it makes decisions based on its own experiences, and then it projects onto others what they think, and sometimes even very bad people wind up doing the right thing. Other times, really good people screw up really bad. So, the world is, I'm trained as an organic chemist. So my thinking and my training is actually very phenomenological. And I'm not a materialist. As a matter of fact, anybody who knows the fundamentals of physics knows that all the hardest matter in the world is nothing more than extremely slow light. But that's my position, where I can sort of try to uncover my deepest sediments that give me predispositions. And that is a difficult thing for most people. Most people can't even do it. I've been doing it for 40-odd years as a chemist and geologist. So it's almost second nature to me now. And so my politics does not, let's say, connect to the vast majority of people I live around. But, what can I tell you? One thing I only care about is the truth. At the end of the day, that's what matters to me more than anything else. And, how can I say? Eventually, you can take any other position you want. Sooner or later, you're going to wind up coming to a place where you're going to basically be looking back at me, because I'm sort of sitting at the closer to the edge of the objective reality than others. I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything. I just that it happens that that's been the way I've gone through things over all these years. So it makes me very, very guarded, very careful, and I do a lot of research before I say anything. And if I don't know anything, I say it straight out. I don't know. But that's how it is. So anyway, Barry. Hello?
Larry, I've got you back on. Leave it at that.
Okay.
Good show, by the way. I think you were really good. Let's continue on to the end. Oh, gosh almighty. This is technology. It's just not meant for me. All righty. Now, what I've got to do is get back to the conversation.
Okay.
We were talking about Weizmann, Chaim Weizmann. You got a real problem. In 1935, he declared a Holocaust was coming, and the Jews better get to Israel, or you're going to be wiped out. And then, you misinterpret things, that it's okay. The right Jews came to Israel. The ones in the...
No, I don't, Barry, I don't say that. You know that.
All right, what do you say? What do you mean?
No, what I said to you was that you have to remember one thing. Palestine was a mandatory. And the people that determined what was going to be any foreign policy for Palestine was determined by the mandatory. It was determined by the High Commissioner of the mandatory. And
I'm not sure what you mean by this.
Well,
Germany and Nazi Germany was not determined by the mandate.
No, what I am saying to you is that the Jewish community in Palestine and those who spoke for it outside of Palestine had to work by the rules that the mandate set up.
You know, the Irgun and the religious were thrown out of the...
Barry,
in 1933, they were thrown out of this government.
I know that. And not only that, but the mandate itself, from the very beginning, and I think you know about this already, there was something called British Military Administration that ran the mandate and then basically grafted seamlessly into the civil order, and then the mandate basically carried on, and the mandate basically kept on trying to build an Arab community, not a Jewish community, and they taxed the Jewish community. But the Jewish community continued to grow on its own steam, and without any help but a great deal of hindrance from the mandate. And
you understand? Oh, gosh. Look, folks, Larry, I especially apologize. This was going really good. We'll have you back. And as for me and the phone and Skype, oh, what a terrible day I've had for Skype and the phone. Larry, I'll have you back real soon.
Okay, then. So, good night. Take care.
Oh, you were just fine. Good night, all. I'm sorry for the technical differences. Next time for sure. Bye, next Tuesday.
All right. Bye.